It appears the Trump administration is scrambling to undo the self-inflicted Doge damage to the federal workforce. Interesting. Now, CNN reports the Trump administration is quietly backtracking from the firings and voluntary retirements, okay, that were part of the Doge effort to slash the workforce. Now, this this is coming as federal agencies are still implementing reduction in force plans to try to do spending cuts. So on the one hand, they're like, oh, yeah, no, we got to do reduction in force, everybody. We got to get rid of these people. And on the other hand, they're also like, oh my God, we got rid of too many people. We need to hire some back. Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. And look, to be fair, though, some of the rehiring, were instituted by the courts who said, hey, the firings of these workers, illegal. Illegal. That said, not all of them have been not all of the rehiring has been as a result of court rulings. Now, other moves to reinstate federal workers come as the Trump administration faces some pressure from lawmakers, industries, and the groups that they serve. Which basically means, what's that?
Whoopsie.
Oh, we messed up. We messed up big time. We gave the man baby, in this case, Elon Musk, too much power to fire people, and now he fired too many, and in some cases illegally. So now we're gonna have to rehire people to fix this mess, this absolute debacle, this disaster. Okay, now one of the biggest problems here is, okay, yes, they're gonna rehire people, they're gonna hire new people, but some of the more experienced employees that I guess took the voluntary retirements or the so-called buyouts or whatever, just decided, I'm done with this. Okay, I'm going to retire. They have moved on. They have moved on either into retirement, or they just said, I'm going to go and look for another job, and they use their qualifications to get another job in the private sector. It didn't matter. What's going on is that they are not going back to these jobs, which means brain drain. You have a massive federal brain drain. Not good. That's going to have massive negative impacts. It already is. In fact, Elaine Kamarck, the director of the Center for Effective Public Management at the Brookings Institution, said, quote, of this, there are time bombs all over the place in the federal government because of this, because of Doge. They have wreaked havoc across nearly every agency. And there are good examples of that, by the way. For example, earlier this month, after Voice of America called back dozens of Farsi speakers who have been on paid administrative leave since March, and they did so as a result of Israel and Iran trading missiles. So they came back, and then those same staffers at its Persian language service were among hundreds that were laid off again the following week. Yes, this is as the Trump administration gutted the network. So absolute chaos, absolute havoc. People being hired and then fired and then rehired and perhaps even fired again. It's madness. It's madness. Not only that, but at the National Weather Service, which lost more than 560 employees to layoffs and early retirement incentives earlier this year, is actually looking to hire about 125 new meteorologists and specialists for its forecast offices across the country. That is despite a federal hiring freeze. So they got rid of a bunch of people. They're like, oh, we got rid of too many. We're going to hire some back. Oops. Ridiculous.
Whoopsie.
Those hires, by the way, will have staff offices that had to cut back on their hours to stop staffing the overnight shift. Or stop staffing the overnight shift, I should say. Disaster. And this, by the way, is, look, hurricane season is here. That's going to be a disaster, too. And now, speaking of disaster, the Department of Health and Human Services, they ended up reinstating about 450 employees at the CDC who were fired as part of a massive reorganization back in April. That is including workers that were focused on HIV and childhood lead exposure, two things that seem to be very important. Okay, yeah, but apparently the administration, especially with Elon Musk and Doge at the helm, were like, oh, childhood lead exposure, don't care, HIV, whatever. Gotta get rid of them. Except now, oops, we had to bring some back. Yeah. In fact, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said back in May that the department had to reinstate 328 workers at the CDC's National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, focused on mine safety. Oh boy. Now, those employees combined represent about a third of the 2,400 workers whose jobs HHS had eliminated as part of its reduction in force plan. More than 200 employees had their firings rescinded at the CDC's National Center for HIV, Viral Hepatitis, STD, and Tuberculosis Prevention, along with 158 at the National Center for Environmental Health. An HHS spokesperson confirmed another 71 were brought back in the office of the director and 24 more at the Global Health Center. Look, still, the cuts that we've had were pretty devastating. They had wiped out the CDC's Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention and Surveillance Branch, which was in the middle of helping Milwaukee address a lead exposure crisis in public schools. Great. Apparently, Trump's CDC was wanting to make lead exposure great again. Not only that, but asbestos too. Their newest regulations are looking at, let's bring asbestos back. Oh, yeah. Yeah, great idea. Now, the entire lead team ended up being rehired along with its parent group, the Division of Environmental Health Science and Practice, according to its newly reinstated director, Dr. Eric Svensson. Lucky they were even able to get some of those people back. Okay. Now, the FDA also ended up rehiring more than a dozen scientists at a food safety lab in Illinois. Now, they originally had plans to lay off a quarter of their staff at 58 facilities responsible for responding to bird flu, which had driven up the price of eggs. So, again, they had to rehire those people. But there are more examples, of course, but I think you get it by now. Okay. Disastrous cuts leading to, yes, we have to get some people back. Oops. And it shows you that they are being forced to undo some of the extremely unpopular Doge cuts. And of course, the reasons for that, of course, is for one, they didn't save any money. In fact, some of these cuts actually are going to cost us more money, especially in the long term. And not only that, but, we have broken essential services, which again, extremely unpopular. Look, when it comes to this, our country, we got played. Okay. No, we are not more efficient. The government is not more efficient. Actually, it's not spending less. It's spending more. It is a nightmare. What a disaster. Scott Laney, a National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health epidemiologist who had received notice that he was being placed on administrative leave, but then was called back because, of course, told CNN, quote, there's still a lot of chaos sort of throughout the federal workforce. Boy, that is putting it lightly, but yes. Max Steyer, CEO of the Partnership for Public Service, said the moves to eliminate and then reinstate many of the federal workers shows the mosaic of incompetence and a failure on the part of this administration to understand the critical value that the breadth of government expertise provides. Yeah. This is not about a single incident. It's about a pattern that has implications for our government's ability to meet not just the challenges of today, but the critical challenges of tomorrow, Steyer said. Now, here's what I think about all this. I think all this chaos was on purpose. Yes, this is Project 2025. Get rid of all the federal workers, or as many as you can, and then replace them with your cronies. Now, that said, yes, Project 2025, which is authoritarianism, which is fascism. But one thing that you have to remember, that you have to count on from fascists, is rank incompetence. Yes, and there is plenty of that. I mean, you just have to look at it. Yes, there is chaos. They wanted to sow chaos, but there's also massive incompetence. And what do I mean? Look, yes, they want to replace government workers with their cronies, and in some part, they're successful. But it also turns out that there's not as many of those people to fill up all the jobs that needed to be filled. Yeah. So there's not enough of these cronies to take the place of the fired workers, and certainly not enough qualified ones, if any of them are qualified. Okay. And the other thing that you have to remember too is that there's so much resistance against these cuts. They're extremely unpopular. They continue to be challenged by government workers, by the people, even by politicians, and so all of that resistance is having an effect. It is having an impact, but at the same time, look, the damage is already done. We've already had the brain drain. It's happened. Vital services have been hobbled. They've been hampered, and that's only going to reduce trust in the ability to for government to actually get things done, which again, that's part of the design, so they can privatize the rest of it. What they can't control directly, that's okay. We can just sell it off to private corporations. So you could, after all, look at this as a success on their part. Because even after all of the chaos and the dysfunction and add in the incompetence, you still realize that, all of this still ends up working in their favor. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.